Duck the Great Western Engine felt like he had a spring in his step. It was all due to the recent visit of a very famous engine. The city of Truro wasn't just a celebrity in Duck's eyes. He was also a fellow Great Western Engine with the great honour of being the first engine to go 100 miles an hour. Duck was very proud, but secretly he had been very shy to have talked to City of Truro when he first came to the island. But nevertheless, it didn't stop him from talking endlessly about the engine. The others took no notice. It wouldn't be long before Duck would later talk about the importance of the Great Western Way. But as time went on, Duck soon found himself feeling quite low. He did his work, but for some reason, he just couldn't find the energy to smile. Something was troubling Duck. He knew what it was, but he was worried the others would laugh at him. After all, he had been boasting about the city of Truro. But it also recently occurred to Duck that City of Truro was a fine engine, and he was just a tank engine. Duck knew there was one engine who could possibly help him. He was taking trucks over to Edward's station anyway, so he hoped that the old blue engine would be there to solve his problems. When Duck brought his train to Edward's station, Edward was resting in a siding. "Hello, Duck," said Edward. "You look troubled." "Do you think I'm just a tank engine from the Great Western Railway?" asked Duck. "Why ever would you think that?" said Edward. "Well, ever since City of Truro's visit, I've been a bit low of myself. It was great seeing a fellow Great Western engine, but I just don't feel like I could ever compare to him." Edward listened carefully. "Seeing City of Truro reminded me of the Great Western Railway," replied Duck, "especially when I used to run the Sunshine Line. But I suppose I'll never get that chance again." Before Edward could say anything else, Duck left his trucks and limped back to the Little Western. "Poor fellow," sympathised Edward. He decided that it was time to talk to the Fat Controller. "Sir," called Edward, "perhaps I could have a word?" "Of course, Edward," said the Fat Controller. "What can I do for you?" Edward quickly explained about Duck. "I see," said the Fat Controller when Edward had finished. "Well, tell Duck not to worry, Edward," he said. "I'll be making the arrangements straight away." And with that, the Fat Controller went to his office. Edward smiled. If there was one person who knew the problem of an engine, it was always the Fat Controller. It took a long time for the Fat Controller to make arrangements, but once everything was ready, he reassured Edward to keep Duck's spirits high until his surprise came. A few days later, the island of Sodor's peace and quiet was unexpectedly disturbed by a loud, shrill Great Western whistle. The famous City of Truro had returned, after the Fat Controller and his owner had arranged for him to visit for a few days, just for a certain Great Western tank engine. "Hello, Duck," called City of Truro. "Nice to see you again." Duck was speechless. But how did... I don't how did... What? City of Truro chuckled. "It was all down to your Fat Controller," he said. "He told me that you were a bit under the weather, so I'm here to make sure that we turn that frown into a Great Western smile." Duck felt happier for the first time in weeks. City of Truro managed to stay for at least 3 days. Gordon respectfully kept his distance, on the subject of domeless engines, but Duck didn't care. When City of Truro returned to the Great Western Railway, Duck promised that he would serve as a really useful engine on the Fat Controller's railway. And even today he would still do things the Great Western way.